evening, SRA Nation, and welcome to Season 12.
Today is going to be a new challenge, aside from being Sanford. We're racing on the surface of the sun, apparently.
Heading down towards the main start line.
Maximizing that track just behind, that's exactly what we were talking about, that one corner. So critical to your lap time, you have to send it. Misses the apex curving there by a little bit.
Everybody's now bunched up, and you do not want that.
We wide now at the intersection 1 in the spot you really don't want to, but the fight's not over.
Still there on the inside, and the McLaren's still not going to give the place up.
And we're off and away for SRA.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sim Racing Alliance GT3 Team Series. We're here at a wet and wild Nurburgring for this fourth round of the 13th season of the GT3 Team Series. I'm your host, Philip Mueller. Thank you all for having me. Joining me in the booth, as always, the jelly to my peanut butter, it's Donovan Colton.
Hey, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I always like the wet races, so yeah, it should be a good one today.
Gonna be a good one. Also in the booth, the whole grain wheat bread that holds this sandwich together. Welcome back, Mr. Mac Morgan.
Nice to be here. Yeah, this is the only wet race we're getting this season, and with it being Nurburgring, I think it'll be interesting. Turn 1 especially.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you to all the viewers out there on YouTube, either watching live or on the recording. Be sure to sound off in the chat or the comments. Let us know how we're doing and what drivers you are rooting for. Qualifying will be starting very soon here, so before it does, wanted to take a look at the standings with 3 races complete. The championship storylines are getting a little clearer. We've got Neil Sutherland, Luis Vasquez, and Selena Boonstra top of the point scoring with only 8 points separating 3 drivers, which is going to be incredible drama to watch unfold. We also, after the 3rd race of the season, had the gold-silver divisions finalized. So as you see, starting with number 15 on your screen, Martin Riggs there, our top silver driver, followed by Pat Cockcroft, Elliot Levine, and 𝐂𝐸𝐺, another storyline to watch. But the big one, in my mind, personally, I'm a fanboy. Looking at the team standings, we got Selena Boonstra and Jess Osborne, P1 still, over Zipperburn and Sutherland in P2. Also the D5 Misplacements team in P3. As we mentioned, Mac Morgan, talk me through this track map. We are here, we're in Nürburgring, we're in Germany, we're not doing the full Nordschleife. Oh man, it's just the GP circuit. But I mean, still should be good racing.
Yeah, definitely. Main overtaking spots are at turn 1 and turn 7. Of course, in the wet, turn 1, hairpin right after a long straight. It could get a little dicey, so definitely keep your eye out at that corner. I definitely think that there will likely be an incident or two there, but hopefully not.
Well,
all the way past turn 1 through the 2, 3, 4 complex. Really difficult set of corners, especially in the wet. You can definitely expect to see some mistakes through there, I'd say. After turn 4, you go down to turn 5. Possible overtaking zone if you're really bold, but I highly doubt we'll see anybody going for that. And if they do, I don't think it'll work out too well. You got turn 6, which will set you up for turn 7. Another hairpin, though much wider. Still possible to see some overtakes through there, but you're really going to have to set it up through turns 5 and 6 in order to try to attempt that. After that, you'll have turn 8 and 9. Fast left-right S. It'll definitely be exciting watching cars go through that section in these wet conditions. You will then get turn 10, again, kind of like turn 5, possible overtaking zone if you're bold, but maybe not the best spot, maybe wait. You got turn 11, which is much more of a sweeping corner, little bit, I'd say it's probably a little bit slower than 10 at times, but that'll bring you on to what is the back straight, kind of straight. Turn 12 usually flat, except I think even in the wettest conditions, it'll still be flat. And then you'll have, of course, have turn 14 and 13, which is quick chicane. I don't think we'll be seeing any overtakes into that. The uphill nature of it makes it really difficult to get through at times, and especially in wet conditions. It's possible, might see going for it, but you never know. And then you'll get turn 15. Once again, another sweeping corner to bring you onto the front straight, and hopefully you'll brake in time for turn 1.
Hopefully. Well done. Thank you, sir. And as we jump over to our race scene, sorry, just introducing the people to, this is Mr. Elliot Levine on screen, who will be giving us a quick overview of basically what Mac Morgan just walked us through there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and one thing to look out for sure is curbs. Curbs are super slippery right now, where, usually you just eat up all the curbs, and however, most of these curbs you can't take. Some of them you definitely still can, but it makes some turns a lot trickier, when adapting to the wet racing here. So definitely something to look out for.
Indeed. So Mr. Levine here in the Aston Martin, navigating that tricky hairpin at the bottom of the circuit there. If you'll just bear with me for a moment as I press escape and check my temperature. So the great thing about ACC, it's hard to tell exactly how wet it is from here in the commentary booth. We've got 2 rows of raindrops, 23, 26 temperatures. It does appear to have a fair bit of standing water on the track. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but as I'm practicing for these races, the hardest part of my preparation is preparing for all of the different levels of rain that are possible within this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not necessarily looking quite as much at the temperatures as a dry track. You're definitely looking at the what levels of wet it's going to be, and it looks like we're pretty medium. I saw, we'll have minus rain in 10 minutes. Whatever.
Oh, interesting point.
That will equate to, who knows. So and especially with cars, driving around, the golds will likely get a better track. Sometimes we could see in with wet races, golds actually getting a worse track because it rains more as the session goes on. And but yeah, in this case, it's looking like the golds might be getting a better track.
Yep, so with our first flying lap down, we've got Mr. Pat Cockcroft of this lovely holiday Sprite liveried Porsche, jumping up to the top of the timing sheets at 2:04.315, followed close behind by the sweatshop king of this season 13, Mr. Richie Wood, who just from last week, just from last Wednesday, when practice started for these guys, 222 laps completed. As of this morning when I last checked, he probably got more since then. Richie Wood has been on a tear putting in the laps, and of anybody talking about getting used to all the different conditions, this is the guy that I would expect to probably have a setup for everything.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure I didn't even do 22 laps, being honest. But yeah. I mean, it's a tricky track. We see, the Schumacher S, I feel like, is one of the trickiest parts on this track in the wet. It's not corners that I really think too much about in the dry. It's kind of just to throw the car in and go for it. But in the wet, you really have to think about, when you're getting off throttle, and especially with how wet it is, because it could change drastically even just within a couple laps.
Jumping on board here with our current provisional pole sitter, Nitin Murphy, in the CM Holiday Mercedes, giving us a taste of exactly what you were talking about there, and highlighting it perfectly. Clipping that curb on the left side, chucking his car off of the right, and invalidating this lap. He'll have a couple more stabs at it, but yeah, perfect demonstration. This is a tough track, tough conditions, and a tough turn, that Schumacher S. Ooh, the times are plummeting down now. We've got Mr. Richie Wood with a 2:03.8 8:45. Excellent work from him. Time still for 2 more laps. Plenty of time for the dry line to start forming. I'd be expecting throughout this whole session to have the times just get faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like with these times so far, it is a fairly medium wet track. Just judging by a 203. You know, just as a reference, these drivers are probably capable of 55s at least in the dry. So yeah, it's a fairly wet track out there.
Yeah, sure. So Richie Wood not on for much of an improvement. Let's jump back on board with Mr. Elliot Levine, who, as he exits the Schumacher S's, about 0.3 up on his delta and gaining. If he can keep it together through the rest of Sector 2 and the very short Sector 3, Sector 3 being basically just the final chicane and the last turn. Not sure how they figured that one out, but but he should be up for a big improvement if he can hold on to this time. To the braking zone of that final chicane, nailing that inside curb, not too far out on the outside. Huge improvement on the delta, looking at almost 7/8 of a second. Good drive. He's gonna crush this time. Hang on. 203.137. Massive from Elliot Levine. That car looks dialed in the wet.
Yeah, that was really clean. Looking him through that final chicane, you know, before turn 15, really just attacking those curbs with confidence. That is one of the spots where you can hit the curbs. So that, you know, right here, you see him staying very far away from that curb there. That's wise. You could just completely mess up your braking if you just, you know, touch the curb. And yeah, I've been keeping things nice and tidy through the Mercedes arena there too.
Another big gainer on this lap, Nitin Murthy coming across the line here. Big improvement on the board. Will see himself up into 3rd place with a 203.462. These drivers now on their last lap. Once the clock ticks over to 10 minutes, silver session will be over. No more valid laps can be started, and the gold drivers will come out. Checking out here, we've got Mr. 𝐂𝐸𝐳, our commentary overlord. Got to give him a little love on stream. That beautiful Ferrari 296 coming across the line, starting his actually well-timed final qualifying lap. I mean, if you were one to try to get the best track progression, I mean, he nailed it to perfection. About 10 seconds to go over the line, and this is his chance now to make a big jump up the leaderboard.
Yeah,
you know, I gotta give a quick shout out to 𝐂𝐸𝐳 here. So during the D6 race last week at Misano, 𝐂𝐸𝐳 was commentating for that race, and he made a comment shouting out, shout out to Mac Morgan for having a great qualifying session. And cut to me, and I immediately spun.
Uh-oh.
So thanks for the commentator's curse, 𝐂𝐸𝐳.
We definitely
you're
are.
Doing great this session.
We're not trying to repay the favor here. We believe in our commentary overlord 𝐂𝐸𝐳, who we will definitely be hanging on to this entire lap to see how he does. Looking up the board, not a whole lot more improvements. We could potentially see Mr. Yaron, who is just ahead of 𝐂𝐸𝐳 on track. He's about a half a second up on his delta. We'll keep an eye on him. 𝐂𝐸𝐳 now coming up to this tricky left-right, not quite a chicane, complex of turns, this long left-hander, more than 90 degrees. You really have to be patient on throttle application. 𝐂𝐸𝐳 doing well, though, keeping it gathered up and underneath him. Coming into Sector 3 here, 7/10 the delta. Not quite on pace for a pole lap, but definitely should see a good improvement. A little aggressive over that second curb on the right. but nice and tidy through the final turn. Not too wide on the outside, keeping decent traction, and over the line, seeing himself up into 5th place with a 2:03.412. Congratulations, Mr. 𝐂𝐫𝐢𝐧. So, we have to go straight to number 7 on track. This is Miss Selena Boonstra in the Comic Racing Lunar Motorsports Porsche. As mentioned, number 1 in the team standings. Also, number 3, is it number 2 or number 3 in the team championships? So Selena Boonstra having a great season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's looking like she's number 3 in the overall championship. It's really, I mean, tight between these drivers. You know, 8 points between the top 3 and the individual championship. So it's definitely all to play for. So I noticed Selena still running her old number on this livery. I got to get that updated.
She did get the new number 7, repping that Porsche pride. But yeah, the livery still showing old number 25. I guess it's got some sentimental value.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, I really got to wonder how much faster these gold drivers are going to be than the silver drivers, because obviously we were seeing the silver drivers, they just kept on getting faster and faster through the session, and of course part of that was I do believe the conditions were lightening up a little bit, but I also think that as they were going around, obviously at the start of the qualifying session, the entire track is wet, but as they went around more and more, there becomes this dry line, which you can see on the track right now, a bit of a dry line there, and so we're seeing drivers, you know, the gold drivers, that dry line is going to be a bit more prominent than it was with the silvers, so I'm really interested to see just how much faster the gold drivers are going to be able to go.
I mean, are we placing predictions? We got a 2:03.137 as the current pole time. Are we going to see mid 2s, high 2s?
Well, right now we're probably still, you know, just judging by, you know, what the weather was saying.
I mean, once she crosses the line, you're going to see for sure what's going on here. On her first flying lap, straight up to the top.
Already.
Oh my god.
Wow. Immediately followed by her teammate, Jess Osborne, at 2:02.8. The Porsche team straight up to the top and looking good. That was just their first flying. That was basically a warm-up lap still. I don't think their tires were up to temperature yet.
That's an insane lap.
Yeah, that's a really strong opening lap. Yeah, so to answer your question, we'll definitely see low 202s.
We're going to see low, there you go. And yeah, and I mean, so interestingly, it's not like the rest of the gold field is putting up similar times. I mean, the best otherwise at 2:03.190, but I mean, we've got, you know, Mr. 𝐓𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐴, 2:03.5, Vargas 2:03.7. I think that just goes to show this Porsche team, they've got what it takes right now.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, at least in Selena's case, she's a huge fan of the Nurburgring. I mean, granted, she's more of a fan of the Nordschleife. She's one of the ones where I'm sure you would agree, Philip, that, you know, where we'd rather be doing the Nords.
Rather, definitely.
But still, that translates over to this track. You know, she's got a lot of experience here and is comfortable.
Very true, very true. As Mr. Amos Movo straight up to the top of the time charts at 2:02.132. Excellent time from him. Still time for 3 more laps, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, see how he improves. Speaking of improvements, coming down the back straight here, this little right-hand kink, turn number 12, that's not quite a turn. Jess Osborne, 4/10 up on his delta. If he can keep this together through the final chicane, he is going to have a pretty sizable improvement on the board, losing a bit of time there, only down now to about 0.2 of an improvement.
Ooh.
Good drive out of the final turn, and as he crosses the line, good enough for P2, ahead of Luis Vasquez, who we haven't seen too much of since week 1 in Suzuka, but definitely can't be counted out as a threat here, putting up a 2:02.577 on his second flying lap.
You know, I think part of the reason we saw a bunch of those goal drivers not really get as high up as the two Porsche drivers did on their first flying laps. I think a lot of drivers were still trying to figure out the conditions, trying to figure out just how much they could push on this wet track, because it's really hard to tell before you go out there. And of course, that was their first chance to really figure it out. So I think by now they're figuring out how much can I push, how far can these tires go in these conditions, and we're really seeing the golds just go way faster. I mean, the silver pole driver is a second off of the gold pole driver, which is a very large gap, especially considering the gaps we've seen in previous races, even when races where Track Evolution did have a large-ish role, nothing near as large as this.
Yeah, and so like I said, so we did have, after 3 races, we do the adjustments of, silver drivers. Some of them get promoted to gold. Some of the gold drivers get demoted to silver. So I think now we hopefully should be seeing a little bit less, silver invasion into the top 10 of the qualifying times. But, you never know. We'll have to check on that as we see Mr. Neil Sutherland getting himself up to P2 with a 202.267 time still for potentially 2 laps. I wasn't quite sure where he crossed the line. 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session.
Neil's been strong in this car, I mean, throughout the whole season, but also at this track in the practice. He won the practice race yesterday.
Ooh.
Which, I was expecting the Mustang to be stronger than it is. I mean, it's very strong here in the dry, but it's tough to wrangle in these wet conditions, without just, traction control just eating up, everything, trying to get away from these kind of low-ish speed corners. So yeah, it's a tricky car to drive around here, but yeah, Neil's got some pace in it though, for sure.
So, crossing the line on her final qualifying lap, Selena Boonstra, who we saw jump out to an insane provisional pole after her first lap, has been unable to make any sort of improvement yet, still sitting with a 202.637. This lap here will be her last opportunity to make that climb up the timesheets, currently sitting on a good half a second improvement, which is about the gap. So looking at Selena Boonstra here to make an impression, potentially taking that provisional pole. Also got improvements on the board from Mr. Sutherland, number 62. We're going to jump on him as he's coming across the start-finish straight, exiting this final turn here. 15 seconds on the clock. So as he crosses the line, he will have time for one more, improving to a 201.832, just ahead of Amos Movo. Another 201, 2 drivers in the 201. Selena Boonstra potentially about to join them, keeping it together through that final chicane. Not too deep on the brakes for the final turn. On exit, 0.8 up on the Delta should see her indeed up into provisional pole at 201.830. We will have to see if Sutherland and Movo are able to respond. Another good improvement on the board, Mr. 𝐕𝐴𝐺𝐕 up into P6. Well done to him. Excellent clutch performance. Got to show a little bit of love to everybody's favorite Panzo Rigatoni driving the Lamborghini this season. Another strong car on this track, I feel. It's got a lot of weight on the rear axle, maybe helping out with that rear traction.
Yeah, it should be a strong car in the wet and here, but difficult. It's a difficult one to drive. And Panzo coming from the Lexus last season, that's a tough jump. Those cars can't really be much more different.
Yeah, he definitely is a many different car connoisseur. I remember, I think the first season I raced against him, he was in the Mercedes, and he's done, like you said, the Lexus. He gets around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming out of this final turn, he did lose a bit of time. Not going to see much of an improvement. 15 confirmed. Amos Movo crossing the line.
Nice.
Big improvement. Neil Sutherland as well getting, oh no, a little held up by traffic. He was well up on his delta, but into the braking zone of this final turn, he's going to lose the 2/10 that he had on the board. Still climbing, clawed a little bit back, but only P2. Potentially could have had a pole there, but he found a Mustang in the way.
That's really unfortunate.
Unlucky there.
He was on a good pace at the moment as well.
So now with qualifying over, looking at the starting grid there, we got Movo ahead of Sutherland, Boonstra, Osborne improving himself up to P4, Aoki, Vasquez, Vargas, Cortez, 𝐳𝐵𝐺, 𝐲𝐴. As we kick it over to all of our sponsors. Got to give a little bit of love to our community supporters, sponsors, and title sponsors. The ladies and gentlemen that you race with every week, kicking in a little bit of money to help with server costs. Also have to give a little bit of love to our business sponsors with our sponsor read, kicking it over to 𝐤𝐸𝐺.
A huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from 𝐷𝐼𝐺, a modern business solution for product management. Go to 𝐷𝐼𝐺.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favourite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. And a big thank you to our affiliates, Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. AT3D Sim Shop. Upgrade your sim racing experience today with premium 3D printed accessories featuring precision crafted magnetic shifters, sleek cable management solutions, versatile stream deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. Their innovative designs enhance performance and style, elevate every lap with top-tier quality and craftsmanship at at3d.net. Go Setups, premium esports setups for everybody. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Castle & Cauldron, a home-based crafting business specialising in handmade Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts and Fairy World collectibles. Magic wands, potions, mini dioramas, wall decor, costumery, cosplay, and much more. Castle & Cauldron is where crafting meets the magical. Visit facebook.com/Castle Cauldron. And from KP Concepts, your source for custom automotive renderings, graphic design, and printing. We spend countless hours making you look all good for the spectacle. Check out kpconcepts.com for more.
All right, thank you, Mr. 𝐷𝐸𝐺, for reading all of those words so that I don't have to. Our drivers are now off for their sighting lap. We've got Mr. Amos Movo of the D5 Misplacements team, that beautiful Christmas wrapping paper livery, rocking the Ferrari 296. Some good diversity of automobiles in this top 10. Got some Mustang representation. Got a couple of Porsches representing. We got Mr. Ren Aoki, P5 qualifying result. I think that might be the best result for him so far this season.
I think it is, yeah. Aoki sometimes has these great performances. I mean, he's a really strong driver, so I'm curious to see what he'll be able to do.
We've got our TC8 racing team. Mr. Wilder Vargas and Mr. Samuel Cortez lining up in P7 and 8. Good to see them rocking a top 10 start. We'll have to keep an eye on them as this race goes on. Mr. 𝐳𝐵𝐺, who got hit with a little bit of a penalty after last week. I think he was P2 over the line, or 3. But yeah, got a little bit of a hammer for murdering Panzo Rigatoni into T1.
Yeah, he did.
Got Mr. Colin Shea here, the Fast and the Festive, another classic Ferrari livery here. Quinton Shatner, or Shanter, as it is spelled on your screen currently. That good-looking Aston Martin. Rowdy Burns, another Porsche representing. And of course, it's the Lexus boys, the Panda Love of Lexus Mustang drivers, Curtis Lee and DJ Watts, lining up in 13th and 15th position this race.
The American Mustangs. I like how many drivers are or teammates are right next to each other this race. That's interesting to see.
Yeah, interesting point. Panzo Rigatoni there, Derek Stack, and the Naysayers Madhouse team. I like that team name. Yeah. Elliot Bean are, well, okay, so taking the time. So we've got Quinton Shatner, who is our top silver qualifier, P11. We've got Levine and then Murphy, P18 and 19. So we'll have to keep an eye on our silver storylines. Richie Wood, our big sweatshop grinder. There we go. Now we've got a Ferrari 488 representing. This is Mr. Jason Yaron with the Holiday Inn. I guess it's true to the holiday theme because it's the Holiday Inn. I like it.
Yeah.
A little bit of a loophole there. But we do have to
relevant for the whole season.
There we go. We do have to jump back on board. Of course, Amos Movo coming towards the start-finish line, getting this race underway. A little out of position, Neil Sutherland. Is Sutherland too far forward, or is Movo too far back?
My guess is Movo's a little too far back. That's going to set off Selena as well a little bit too far back.
Yeah.
In fact, the whole row, the whole right side seemed to be too far back.
So we're away and running. No drive-through penalties on the screen. Sutherland, just an amazing start. Stealing P1 from Mr. Movo.
The outside.
Yeah.
Amazing holding it around the outside there from Sutherland. That's not easy to do.
So looking down the field, everybody keeping it nice and tidy, side by side through this tight and twisty first sector. Panzo Rigatoni getting a little bullied, losing a couple positions. We've got Vargas and Cortez now. This is Wilder Vargas under pressure from Colin Shea up the inside with Zipperburn as well, looking to get a little bit of racy. But with Vargas on the inside, able to fend off that threat. Got Mr. 𝐂𝐸𝐳 dicing it up with Sully up ahead of him in the Blockbuster Mustang. So far, I think everybody's doing a quite respectable job of this lap one. Jason Allen must have put the fear of God into these guys.
I was gonna say, I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, of course, but that was a really clean T1. It looks like 𝐂𝐸𝐳's getting a little bit of a run here on Sully's not gonna go for it. That's probably wise. That's a tricky one. You could capitalize off the mistakes there, but it's tricky to make it pass, and you're going to lose a lot of time to the cars behind, so it's wise to not be too over aggressive this lap one. It's a long race.
DJ Watts getting a huge run on Shatner. Not going for the move though.
I would be cautious saying we've had a clean lap one so far, because we were saying that last week about Misano, and then in Sector 3, everyone just went, oh, we have a bunch of drivers going into the pits.
I remember, that was definitely a messy. You'd think that one was the wet race. It looks like already almost there's a dry line forming. Wow,
Selena taking a peek.
That. Yeah. I don't know if she was really intending to go for that or if she was just peeking.
Oh, we've got a little bit of a spin. This is Colin Shea. One.
Oh, that is...
I'm going to try to take a quick look what happened to him. He got...
just late braking.
Late slams into the BMW of Ren Aoki. Big side damage to him, but Colin Shea, who started in the top 10, now P35 on track. Brutal start to the race for him.
We got some pitters, Sully and 𝐂𝐸𝐳.
𝐂𝐸𝐳.
So they're going for the super undercut here.
That must have been a setup mistake. I can't see why they would be in so early unless they took just drastically wrong pressures or the wrong tires completely, right?
Could be. It could be. Well, my guess is they didn't take the wrong tires because they were too competitive, running pretty well, and they weren't super off the pace. However, I mean, it's a little bit risky of a strategy because you're counting on it being rainy for the rest of the race, and not drying up at all. But it's definitely, you could easily make the wet tires last the full hour. So it could be a strong strategy, maybe a boring race for them, but hey, if they're wanting to stay away from we're going double side by side into the chicane here.
Wow,
holding around the outside. That's 𝐷𝐻𝐻𝐺.
That was 𝐷𝐻𝐻𝐺.
Amazing.
Oh, Vargas is just getting bullied. That's a huge send from Rowdy Burns up the inside of the final turn. I'm sorry, that's Cortez. Cortez losing 3 positions in the span of 2 corners here. Derek Stack taking P11 into turn 1 here.
These drivers are obviously feeling pretty comfortable with these conditions. It's the dry line is certainly forming here.
Cortez side by side with Stack, a little bit of paint traded there. Cortez maintaining the position. Surprising that Stack wasn't able to make that stick. But Cortez doing well to fight back, looking up ahead. So Sutherland still ahead of Movo. See the gap on your screen, about a half a second. Selena Boonstra keeping it just nice and clean. P3, good points position on the books. We got Jess Osborne P4. Luis Vasquez holding on to a solid P5. So our top 5, not a whole lot of action there, but we'll keep an eye on them as the race progresses. This is Chris Sweeney now, right up on the tailpipes. Mr. Jason Yaron. I've got it written down so I don't have to just say one of the Yaron brothers anymore. Number 545 on your screen, that's Jason Yaron.
Jason, yeah. I learned him. I memorized him. I had the flashcards and everything.
Did your homework. Very good. Oh, Sweeney, a huge run out of the Schumacher S's, just cleanly taking that P22. Yaron getting not a great drive out of that tricky left-right Schumacher S section.
Yeah, it looks like he lifted a little bit. He's going a little wide.
Quentin Shatner still trying to keep it racy with Elliot Levine ahead of him. Did I see?
We got some blinking from Curtis.
Yeah, Curtis Lee, the classic connection. Sometimes you'll just see him teleport back to the pits, but he's still on track. He's still there. P15 at the moment. We saw a driver ducking the pits. That was Matt Schmitzer. 2 drivers here. God. The wrong name.
I think we're seeing more undercut. I want to say they're all going for the undercut. This isn't repairing. This was just planned strategy. Because we also saw what is that, Panzo. Also, one thing I want to point out: Sullivan and 𝐓𝐸𝐳, they were fighting when they went into the pits, and Sullivan has a huge gap now to 𝐓𝐸𝐳. Well, I don't know if that was if Jay had a rough pit stop or what.
Well, and something extraordinary must have happened with Sully. He has not cleared his 1 mandatory pit stop, even though, as you said, he was in the pits at some point.
He was.
So Jack Sullivan,
if you look at
last on track, P36.
Oh.
He was only stopped for 19 seconds. That's not enough time for a tire change, I do not believe.
Maybe so was that a 19-second damage repair pit stop? But then he went back out on the same set of tires?
Is this, I wonder if he forgot to select the box of, like, because when you're on wet tires, for some weird reason, ACC doesn't automatically select the box to change your tires in the pit stop. I wonder if he forgot to do that.
Well, that would explain why his stop was so much faster than Rigatoni and 𝐂𝐸𝐳. So now, of our drivers who have pit, Shatner over 𝐓𝐻𝐺 over Rigatoni. That doesn't make sense. He's further ahead on track. Maybe the board just hasn't updated yet.
Yeah, it hasn't crossed that first line. Sector line is right coming up here into
okay,
to
there
turn
we go.
7.
Okay, so it's Rigatoni over 𝐂𝐸𝐳, over Shatner, over 𝐓𝐻𝐺. So those are our early mega undercut drivers. We'll have to keep an eye on them as the race progresses. Jumping back up ahead, we got Luis Vázquez putting a little bit of pressure on Jess Osborne. This is a on-track battle for P4 and P5 at the moment.
This is a great position for the Porsche drivers of Selena Boonstra and Jess Osborne. You know, they're our team leaders. This is a solid position for them, so they're definitely hoping to keep this in a clean race for them.
Yep, the former Division 4, I believe it was Season 9 champions for the team championship, looking to do a little bit of a repeat here in Season 13, Division 2. Bit more fighting. We've got Cortez battling with DJ Watts, who has lost a couple of positions here. Under pressure from behind, that's Rowdy Burns, followed by Derek Stack, followed by Nitin Murphy. Super tight on-track battle. DJ Watts under threat.
Yeah, Rowdy almost looking to go side by side. I mean, that is not some place that you want to go side by side even remotely. DJ Watts making sure that wasn't a possibility.
Rowdy Burns deep on the brakes, a little bit wide on the outside there, but able to hold off Derek Stack in that Naysayers Madhouse Racing Mustang. Losing a bit of time to DJ Watts ahead, who's got a little bit of time to breathe. Derek Stack, huge pressure coming down this back straight. Looking up the inside, not going to make it happen through that tight chicane. We had a driver, that's Levine, going a bit wide through that same chicane. Gonna lose. Gonna go into the pits. Okay, that was tactics. I was going that direction anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of early pit stops. If everybody undercuts, then nobody undercuts, huh?
right. So Watts, Burns, Stack, Murphy continuing on, and we saw Levine, Curtis Lee, and now Pat Cockcroft joining them pits as well. So Justin McKechties, who had a pit lane start for this race, looking to make a little bit of an improvement with potentially a big early undercut.
You know, a lot of these people going for these undercuts. I really think this is going to make things exciting later in the race. Is we're going to have a, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of pit strategy where you're going to have some cars that are on older tires than others. That's just how racing goes. But one thing about the wet races is that due to how much longer the wet tires can last, it can mean that the disparities can actually be much larger. I mean, at this point, we're looking at, what, a 20-minute disparity from somebody who's pitting this early compared to somebody who decides to pit at around the halfway mark, which is standard in dry races.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, and you know, one thing with the pitting super early, that is you're just counting on it staying wet. Because the worst case scenario is if this race dries up and you have to stop again, and some drivers who stayed out, like at the front of the field, they're going to have, I mean, a huge leg up because they only have to pit once, or, you know, they don't have to deal with tires at 35 PSI in the red.
So looking here, we've got still kind of the same on-track battles you saw previously. Vázquez still pressuring Osborne. Movo keeping it tight. P1 and 2 to Sutherland. Sweeney on Russell Allen. 𝐂𝐸𝐳 and Rigatoni still leading the pack of drivers who have gone for that undercut. So I guess being the first ones to do it, they got held up the least on track and are well clear of your provisional P3 of your undercutters, Elliott Levine, a 3.5 second gap to 𝐂𝐸𝐳 ahead.
Yeah, these two are likely. I mean, if I were them, I would try to work together a little bit on this.
Yeah, definitely don't battle right now.
No. Yeah, just try to keep out of each other's way and just work your way to some good lap times and yeah, don't worry too much about who's ahead of who.
Yeah.
I think Sullivan may have realized his own mistake. I don't see him on the list anymore.
Oh no.
I think he may have retired.
Poor Sully. That's a bummer. I agree, he is not there, and pit stop drama. But what were you saying? If it's wet tires, it doesn't choose to replace tires if you go into the pits by default?
Yeah, the default is it doesn't check the box. You have to check the box, to change the tires. If you have wet tires on, which is so annoying. I don't understand why.
How does that make sense?
The thing, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's a real shame.
So our battle for this is P10, 11, 12, and 13 on track rages on. DJ Watts just ahead of Rowdy Burns, Derek Stack, and Nitin Murthy in that beautiful Champion Motorsports Holiday Edition Mercedes-Benz. Got Russell Allen jumping into the pits now as well. 45 minutes on the clock, still pretty early to take a pit. Decided maybe he was getting held up by traffic and he's going for the Panzo Rigatoni strategy.
We have Ian in the chat saying stop go 30, who got it? Did you guys see somebody get a stop go 30?
We are checking.
You think that might have been Sullivan?
Adams.
Oh, Adams.
So that must be a speeding in the pit lane penalty?
It's easy to get greedy on this pit lane entry because after the turn you have a little bit before the pit lane limiter has to go on, so you want to speed up a bit after your turn in.
Yeah.
It's definitely easy to get greedy on it.
Of course, in the wet, it'll be even easier to overshoot that as well.
Oh yeah, lock up the brakes. Probably not a whole lot of traction in the pit lane.
It's not as rubbered in.
not. It's off the racing line. So we've seen at the front here Neil Sutherland pulling a little bit of
contact. Turn one.
Turn one. I got number 86. Mr. Pat Cockcroft going back for a replay. Coming down into the braking zone of turn one. A driver no exiting the pit lane. Tell me he's not involved. That I believe would have been other Sprite Porsche of Mr. Russell Allen doing a bit of a twofer. He got the double kill on that one. I mean, would you blame Allen for that, or was space not given on the inside? I mean, if you're exiting the pits, you're on track and you're entitled to some space.
Yeah, I think I would have thought Jason would mention something about a pit lane, but the driver exiting the pit has the right of way because there's nowhere else to really go. That is definitely tricky. I'm glad I'm not a steward, so I don't have to. I don't have to.
Well, we'll have to see the stewards decide. I ain't the one deciding.
Yeah,
Nope.
And it's not like I'm speaking from experience either. It's not like last week at Mazzano I totally smacked into the side of some guy who was exiting the pits in front of me and got a warning plus 5 second penalty for it.
Cool.
So I can tell you, if they're exiting the pit lane, they are entitled to space and you need to leave them room.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that is tough.
That's a rough one. Rowdy Burns still just stalking that Mustang of DJ Watts right up on his rear bumper. Nothing separating the two cars. Coming here through the Schumacher S's. Lots of curb taken on that right side. That right side curb you can get away with. It's that first left-hand curb that will kind of eject your car into the gravel if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to be really careful. I mean, if you want to be safe, you should just avoid them altogether. But right now, I mean, this I don't think we're super wet. I don't think the track does not appear to be getting much more difficult. So I think I mean, we're seeing so many of these drivers take a lot of curb. Speaking of taking plenty of curb to get into that pit lane, it's kind of a tricky pit lane to get into right after the chicane. You can't really get into it without checking up in the chicane without doing that.
Yeah, no, it's not safe to check up in the chicane to make the white line. You are entitled to going over the curb a bit. So 𝐕𝐻𝐻𝐻 and 𝐂𝐚𝐾 now to the pits. 40 minutes and 50 seconds left in this race. As I click my escape key and look at the top right, so with the 10 and 30 minute indicators, it's not saying that the rain will be increasing or decreasing. We're kind of just at this same level of rain for the rest of the race, it would appear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw one of the McLarens driving in the non-rubbered part of the straight to cool tires down. Ooh. So I wonder if anybody's dealing with pressures or anything being off. But yeah, some tire cooling strategies going on.
𝐷𝐵𝐻𝐻𝐻 getting underway out of the pit lane. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻 zooming past, maintaining that provisional-ish P1 of the undercutters. So we've got 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 now, followed by 𝐷𝐵𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 who came out ahead of 𝐂𝐸𝐳, who apparently had been dropped by 𝐷𝐵𝐻𝐻𝐻 by a fair margin. Looking at the gaps on track, it's a second or two. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 putting in the times, doing well, going for that big undercut. Vasquez on Osborne, the battle rages, a couple of tenths between the two of them, but so far, no overtaking opportunities for Mr. Luis Vasquez. Ooh,
𝐉𝐻𝐻 in the
𝐉𝐻𝐻, our P2 runner, 39 minutes left in this race, has elected to go for a fresh set of tires.
Yeah, I was thinking the leaders were going to go for a while longer, but 𝐉𝐻𝐻 seeing if this undercut could work for him.
Yeah, I don't blame him with the way Sutherland has kind of just been flying off into the distance. You got to try anything to try and get around, and might as well try the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rowdy Burns still just the same race for him, still right up behind DJ Watts. There's no way past. I mean, what I heard about the Mustang, Donovan Colton, as a Mustang driver, perhaps you can corroborate this. Getting through the turn is the hard part. Once you get that exit down, though, and you put your right foot down, the Mustang is still the Mustang, and it kind of just walks away on the straight.
Although those are the kind of cars that I like. Yeah, and it's funny. Right as you were saying that, we saw DJ Watts get a little bit sideways there at the exit of turn 4. And yeah, so that is, the Mustang. It's hard in the turns. It's good in it's got really efficient aero. Oh, we see.
Ooh,
but that's gonna, yeah. That gave him a good enough run to, Rowdy Burns not being able to do anything about that. But Burns getting a little bit sideways actually there. Yeah, the Mustang is tricky to get turned in and stable in these conditions and in dry conditions too, to be honest.
So 𝐉𝐻𝐻 on pit exit has come out well ahead of, you see it on your mini map there on the right, number 97 Panzo Rigatoni currently navigating that final left-right complex of turns at the end of sector 1. It's showing Jeremy Yarin on your board P21, but as they come across the line, that'll update. So we see now Panzo Rigatoni P21 behind 𝐉𝐻𝐻, a 20-second gap to 𝐉𝐻𝐻. So the undercut, I mean, I'm sure Panzo will gain positions, but nowhere near Mr. 𝐉𝐻𝐻.
Yeah, well, I mean, these leaders definitely seem to be, kind of in a league of their own, just putting down phenomenal times here.
We
So
see
yeah, that would be
Sutherland.
a big ask.
So our race leader, Neil Sutherland, in the pits now, will have to keep an eye as 𝐉𝐲 navigates the final
Burns
turn.
around Watts.
Finally? Really?
Yes.
Oh, they're still battling side by side.
Through turn 4 there.
But Burns ahead. Watts on the inside.
Here. Bird's going a little bit deep. It's so hard to get that, and it looks like
This
Sutherland
is the pit exit
able
for
to
the
hold
lead.
that.
By a hair. Sutherland hanging on. His tires will be quite cold for this first lap. 𝐉𝐲 looking to try to take advantage of the tire differential right now. He's only got maybe half a lap to do it before Sutherland's tires come fully up to temperature. Checking back in. Burns still behind DJ Watts. Couldn't make it stick.
I saw it. Burns. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard at the outside of that turn, right there, turn 5, is really tricky in the wet. It's very slippery out there, and it looks like 𝐉𝐲 being able to hold it together pretty well there. But yeah, not easy.
Looking back at Burns and Watts, if I'm Burns right now, as I was about to say, I'd be looking at an undercut.
You're gonna do what he's doing there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be doing that right there because you've been sticking right on the back of him the whole time, and you just haven't been able to get around. This is the chance. You gotta go for the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Donovan Colton, you are the guy with the mind like a steel trap. Refresh my memory. Panzo qualified. It was like P17.
Yeah, you say that, and
did I nail it?
Exactly where he it was. I think it was around there. I want to say 15th to or so.
Yeah, it was the bottom teens. Not quite 20th, but not quite 15th.
Yeah. I think definitely the undercut is working for Panzo here. It might not be working quite as well, but I mean we'll see once more of these have pit. He's almost made it back to his starting position. Rowdy Birds. Yeah, actually,
that's Rigatoni and Murphy.
That's pretty good.
Zooming past.
That's pretty good.
That's Samuel Cortez and Rowdy Burns.
That's well into the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Rowdy Burns was running around P11, so to get passed by Panzo and Murphy now, that strategy is paying off for those boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Space Wizard in the chat confirming that I am a genius. It was P17. Thank you, sir.
Yep. I just got confirmation myself.
So, Boonstra Osborne, Vasquez, Zipperburn continuing on, not quite electing to pit yet. To be fair, it's not quite the halfway point of this race yet. But we will have to see how they come out. The drivers who have pit, so Sutherland and 𝐉𝐲. Wait, we weren't paying attention. But the gap now from Sutherland to 𝐉𝐲, maybe it was during that initial lap where they were kind of getting a little fighty. But 7.7 seconds.
I think it's when we were looking at Burns. I don't know what happened, but I noticed it on my time machine when I tried to look in the replay to see what happened. I couldn't find it, but yeah, something happened to 𝐉𝐲.
I mean, just based off track position, Sutherland continuing on, maybe 𝐉𝐲 had an off track, maybe it was not necessarily an incident, but 𝐉𝐲 losing out a lot of times. 8 seconds now, the gap between himself and Neil Sutherland. That will be a potential liability as, well, if our top drivers who have yet to pit, Boonstra, Osborne's, and Vasquez, once they do their pit, I'm looking at 𝐉𝐲 as potentially losing a couple positions because of a potential mistake there.
Yeah, and that's pretty big. That 7 seconds is significant. I do believe around when they pitted, Selena was close to 4 seconds behind. So
Okay. Taking a look at, we've got Mr. Martin Riggs, P8 on track, right up behind Mr. Richie Wood, our sweatshop representative. Take a quick look here. Boonstra electing to continue on. Same with Osborne Vasquez going right past that pit entry. Our next opportunity. 𝐉𝐵𝐺 tough through that chicane and does elect then to go into the pits. 31 minutes left in this race. Mr. 𝐉𝐵𝐺 Jr. electing to put on a fresh set of rubber. We will have to see. I guess this will be a good indication. Where will he come out in relation to Mr. Movo?
You know who else has gone into the pits? Watts. So this is Burns' chance.
Yep, Rowdy Burns versus DJ Watts. We'll have to keep an eye on Watts as he exits the pits. We've got Sutherland from Movo, 8 seconds, then 13 seconds to Rigatoni, who is still under a ton of pressure from Mr. Nick Murphy. 𝐷𝐸𝐳, who was right behind Panzo at one point, has lost a bit of time and was overtaken by the pit strategy by Burns and Cortez. Currently sitting a provisional 6 or 7 of our drivers have performed that undercut. 𝐉𝐵𝐺 now moving, so that was Movo who just went past 5:18 on track, already navigating through turn 1, so no problem there. 𝐉𝐵𝐺 coming out well behind Amos Movo, but still ahead Panzo, Rigatoni, and Nitin Murphy. So 𝐉𝐵𝐺 doing well, maintaining a little bit of position after the pit stop.
Looking back at Burns and Watts, the undercut has worked out for Burns. Burns is now fairly well ahead of Watts.
Ooh, who came out just ahead of 𝐷𝐸𝐳, but you're right. Look at an on-track position. Rowdy Burns with the undercut, getting it done.
yeah, strong one too at that. I'm about 2 seconds right now. And that is Watts just coming out of the pit, so those tires are gonna take a second to get up to operating. It's always hard to get through that Mercedes arena in the wets, you know, right when you're, you know, first put on the new tires.
So that was Nitin Murphy into the hairpin, going for the huge send on Panzo Rigatoni, finally taking that position. Give you a quick replay here. He had gotten it done in the previous turn. He must have just gotten a better drive, was able to navigate it better, and with the inside line into the hairpin, getting the job done. Nitin Murphy, that is a, it was close at the apex there.
Yeah, it was.
So, Boonstra and Osborne, P1 and 2 on track. 28 minutes left in this race, and still yet to pit. Surely they must be. They gotta do it soon. Yeah, I gotta believe.
Yeah.
Got Sean Daniels, Wilder Vargas coming into the pits. We'll see how he comes out in relation. Mate. Samuel Cortez, who's still kind of in a battle. Rowdy Burns just can't get clear air. First it was DJ Watts, now he's we see it. Okay, so Wilder Vargas coming out just behind his teammate, who he was running pretty close with early on in the race. Samuel
Rowdy Burns splitting him. So again, that undercut, you know, working out well. That's been a bit of a theme during this race.
So as Boonstra and Osborne navigate this Sector 3, surely, indeed, this is the time. Boonstra in, Jess Osborne continuing. We see an Aston Martin off track ahead. That is the number 70 card of 𝐳𝐸𝐵𝐻. Looking a little stranded out there in the gravel. Good thing we've got that crane truck nearby to pick him up if needed. He got it back up and running again. 𝐳𝐸𝐵𝐻, he's continuing.
I wonder if there
So,
was a hardware failure or something.
Hardware failure. Maybe he was going to get a drink and spilled it.
I
so
was gonna say some joke about Aston Martin in the gravel from Brazil this F1, but I couldn't think of anything. So
Yeah, well, I think he's a bit better than Lance Stroll, so.
yeah, I think he's got a leg up there.
So, Osborne and 𝐕𝐵𝐺𝐬 continuing on. 𝐕𝐫𝐈𝐵𝐺𝐻 taking her mandatory set of tires. Looking at Neil Sutherland, who is our provisional race leader of the drivers who have completed their pit stops, zooming past 𝐕𝐫𝐈𝐵𝐺𝐻. Amos Movo similarly crossing the start-finish line. 𝐕𝐵𝐺𝐻 just now starting to move in the pits, but will easily be overtaken by Movo. The next driver on track who is pit is 𝐓𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐻, so 𝐵oonster will come out well ahead of him. So yeah, so that little hiccup from Movo so far not costing him any time, maintaining his P2 over 𝐕𝐫𝐈𝐵𝐺𝐻. Now gosh, you wonder if she would have pit just a little bit earlier, would Movo have lost that position?
You know, there's still 25 minutes in this race, and Selena is now going to have a pretty sizable tire advantage.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unthinkable that Selena catches up and maybe tries again. Try to do what she wasn't quite able to do in the start of the race.
So 𝐕𝐵𝐺𝐻 continuing on, 25 minutes left in this race, but he's feeling just fine on his tires. Jess Osborne diving in pits. Taking a look on board, Chris Sweeney right up behind Mustang of EJ Watts, who just can't catch a break. Under pressure now from the McLaren, the Jingle Balls Racing Team's Chris Sweeney. Taking a quick peek at pit stop time. So all of our top drivers, Sutherland, Movo, 𝐵oonster, 𝐓𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐻, all super respectable. 32, 34 seconds for 𝐕𝐫𝐈𝐵𝐺𝐻. So maybe that 2-second difference made a little bit of a difference there to Movo. Because, I mean, personally, DJ Watt's struggling right now. But yeah, just
𝐂𝐸𝐳 throwing the flash.
Get in there.
Throwing him off on the inside there. It's the classic bait, I guess, with flashing the lights. Yeah, sorry to
those mind games. No, hey, action on track takes precedence over pit strategy. But yeah, I'm still shocked that Movo losing essentially 8 seconds to Sutherland because of some incident that we didn't see, but hasn't yet lost any positions for it. So I guess fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Osborne, out of the pits, made up a ton of time past his teammate and right behind Movo.
Wow. Take a click back over to our... Yeah, so his 32-second pit stop versus his teammate's 34-second pit stop is essentially the difference you see on screen here. Jess Osborne making the overtake with pit strategy, making provisional P3 in this race.
Uh-oh, we had a yellow with in the center there in the Mercedes arena.
97?
Nope, that's Panzo.
No, Panzo.
No.
Find him. Attempt bit of a replay.
He's lost a bit to
Oh, he had contact.
Oh, it was. We
Rowdy
just caught the tail end of it there on the replay. A little bit of nose to tail action. Rowdy Burns potentially spinning Panzo. We didn't see enough of it to know for sure, but that's a half a dozen positions lost. Panzo now.
It's basically the undercut.
Yeah, that's
taken
brutal.
away. What a bummer.
I managed to catch a little bit more of the replay on my own screen. It was just a light tap on the rear, and that was all it took.
Classic ACC physics.
ACC collision physics. So 22 minutes left in this race. Luis Vasquez still continuing on. I see if this pays off for him.
with the rain, I feel like, you know, in general, the strategies are slightly nullified if the conditions stay the same. Now, if they don't stay the same, it could be drastic. So, you know, it's kind of a gamble, you know, which kind of makes it exciting with rain races. But yeah, with this, I mean, if it's staying the same, I mean, the overcut could work. You know, you get clear air. That's one plus to it. You know, 𝐓𝐿𝐵, I mean, completely in his own bit of track. There's nobody in sight in front or behind. So.
A bit of action here. We've got Chris Sweeney battling with Derek Stack of the Madhouse. Swapping positions back and forth. Yeah, well done, Derek Stack. A great bit of racecraft taking the position back off of Chris Sweeney. You'll love to see it. DJ Watts just behind those guys on track, just behind 𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳, putting a little pressure on him. We saw 𝐓𝐻𝐸𝐳 taking advantage of a DJ Watts moment to make the overtake. But DJ Watts still has a little bit of fight left in him. The battle at the front still continues on. Jess Osborne still right up behind Amos Movo. This is a battle for provisional P2 and 3. Luis Vasquez and Jason Yaron still our only drivers who have yet to pit. Sweeney right up behind Derek Stack. 𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳.
Wait a second. They swapped.
They swapped.
Ooh.
And 𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳's around.
He's spinning.
Just on his own.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, and he's going to lose. Oh, there's a ton of drivers
there's
on track
so
right
many
now. He
cars
can't
here.
move. He's losing all these positions. 𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳. Okay, he's back up and running. But from...
Drifting out of that sideways position.
So that was from... Oh my goodness. He lost...
That was a lot of positions.
He lost like 11 positions. He was with DJ
Yeah.
Watts. We went from P15 to P25. Brutal stuff there. 𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳 struggling with the rain a bit. He is on extremely old tires, to be fair. He was one of our first pitters. Those tires can't be too happy, especially if he's got a little bit of a looser setup. Osborne on Mofo. The fight continues. I would love to see these two dice it up
Vasquez into the
and
pits.
get... Ooh, finally, Luis Vasquez coming into the pits. So Jess Osborne on Amos Movo. If these two could fight just a little bit, bring Selena back into this race. She is who I picked for the Pick D's Fantasy Challenge, so I would love to see a good result out of her. Chris Sweeney on Derek Stack. The battle continues. Martin Riggs on Richie Wood. The Lamborghini boys super tight on track. We got Wood from Riggs from Rigatoni. P15, 16, and 17 on track. Elliot Levine in a Sprite Porsche sandwich right now. Not able to make any look. Oh, and he's got his teammate Schmitzer. Look at these teams on track battling. I like this action. As we see,
teams are really sticking close in general.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Christian Holmes, the other Champion Motorsports Mercedes, getting a great run. Wow, through the Schumacher S's. That's Sean Leitch in the other D5 misplacements. Ferrari 296. We haven't seen a whole lot of him in this race, but trying to take that. Wow, Schmitzer there. Bold around the outside.
Well held between the both of them, and it looks like Sean's gonna have a.
Ooh, just barely as they come through that right-hand kink.
That
Excellent.
Is such a hard turn to go side by side in the wet. I mean, all of that is difficult to do side by side in the wet. So it's good on these drivers for keeping that all together.
Yep. So Luis Vasquez is out of the pits now, navigating that first sector. We see the driver just ahead of him on track, Selena Boonstra. So Luis Vasquez maintaining what is essentially 5th place in this race. We'll see as they come across this timing line at the end of the first sector.
But what I want to point out, though, is when Jess went into the pits, Vasquez was right behind him.
Right, so Osborne went in from 4th. Luis Vasquez was 5th, and he comes out in 5th. So he basically maintained his position.
Yes, yeah, but a lot of track time loss is the part that I'm getting at. And that's almost 7 seconds to Jess. So, I mean, that's definitely, I mean, the undercut seems to be the strong strategy here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vasquez, you would have to call that an overcut. I mean, he pit at, what, 18 minutes remaining? That was a bit long, to be fair.
Yeah. It looks like Vasquez having a hard time waking up these tires.
Yeah, a little cold coming out of the pits, but he'll get there. As we see Rowdy Burns right up behind Mr. Samuel Cortez. This is an on-track battle for P8 and 9. Rowdy Burns looking to make a little bit of a break, maybe negate some of those penalty seconds that are coming his way after that incident with Panzo Rigatoni. Osborne still right up behind Movo.
Vasquez now 8 seconds behind Salim.
A rough outlap from him. 8.2 the gap from P4 to P5. Gotta give some love to Mr. Justin McKechties. He had a pit lane start for this race due to penalty points, but having gone from P last all the way up to P18 so far and battling with Mr. Jason Yarin for P17. So well done to him.
Oh, Movo's gone wide. Osborne's around. They're side by side now, heading into turn 8.
Wow. Oh, this is not a spot that you want to go side by side with.
Movo all up on the curb. Osborne taking advantage. That is a beautiful overtake there. Jess Osborne taking advantage of the misstep from Amos Movo up into P2 of this race. Oh no, Movo!
Oh!
Got on the curb.
He got onto the curb on the exit of that turn.
Can we get a replay of that?
We get a replay of that.
Oh.
So just all by himself, a little wide, trying to get the power down a little too aggressively, and he was our pole sitter. He was running P2 for most of the race. Now P6, still P6, but a ton of front end damage on that Ferrari 296. 14 minutes left in this race, and he does elect to pit to repair damage. Oh no!
That is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
You never want to see a race end like that.
Oh,
never.
That's a shame.
Absolutely not. No, that is such a shame. Is that Vasquez in the pits as well?
Check
Yeah, that is.
I just thought of something.
Vasquez doing in there.
Oh!
Did he put on dry
the
tires?
wrong tires, I'll bet, because we saw him struggling out of the pits.
That would make sense.
Oh no, so Vasquez, who was running P5 the whole race, similarly has to make a second stop for the correct set of tires, and his race is over as well. Oh, I hate to see it. Nitin Murthy now inheriting P5 right up behind Zipperburn. So looking at the team championship, P1 and P2 in the teams, we've got the Comic Racing Lunar Motorsports Porsches. P2 is the Mustang West Coast Best Coast team of Sutherland and Zipperburn. They're currently representing the top 4 in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're just looking to carry that lead they have against the other teams, and then they gotta turn their attention to themselves to see. I mean, they're gonna be pretty close at the end of this race. I mean, the Porsche team definitely still having a bit of an advantage, but
yeah, definitely. So of our individual drivers, so Sutherland is P1 in the individual points, looking to keep a hold of that. He's got a 10-second gap now to Jess Osborne. Neil Sutherland, I feel like we haven't been paying much attention to his race, because, I mean, he took the lead from turn 1 and has just kind of gone on a Wednesday afternoon cruise.
Yeah, he had to deal with Movo for that first stint behind him, but since then really has not had too much to worry about. Just been able to keep it clean. Neil is a very cool and calm driver and is able to put in some really solid performances.
So checking in with our two Shakespearean tragedies of this race. Amos Movo coming out of the pits after repairing damage in P32. Luis Vasquez, after putting on the correct set of rubber, P30 he was P31. He made the pass over 𝐲𝐵EV the third, or P30, so fair play to him. Give it a little bit of love to this Team WRT. Gordon Beverly the third. Good to see him participating in this team series. Good to see some more BMWs on track. I'm a fan of that car.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just gonna say, we haven't mentioned GB3. I think was just promoted to D3
from D4 to D3.
He was D4.
Well, congratulations on your promotion. Welcome to P31 on track.
Yeah.
Oh, 295. We've got one of the Yaron brothers. Yellow flag in sector 1. If I just do a quick replay, coming into turn 1. He's got a McLaren behind, but just all by himself, a little deep on the brakes and on corner exit. Too much power applied and just spins it off on his own. So now P28 for Jeremy Aaron. You hate to see it. Side-by-side action, though. Rowdy Burns on the TC8 McLaren team. We'll have to see what happened there. So on Samuel Cortez ahead, attempting to peek the outside, dives, gives the dummy on the inside, but too deep on the brakes. Contact is made, and then 𝐷𝐿DER the unfortunate recipient.
Got the double kill on both teammates.
He got both the TC8 boys. So checking in, Samuel Cortez, that was side damage, so he's probably fine, but 𝐷𝐿DER 10 minutes left in this race, and that was a pretty solid whack on his nose.
That was.
You see the bonnet of that car vibrating in a way that you would not expect if it were completely intact. Oh, man.
Looks like it's still drivable, so he's going to keep going, but...
Still drivable. He must have lost a couple positions, so it looks like I think that would be Derek Stack and Chris Sweeney, who are in a battle of their own, by the way. just to mention, have made the pass on Vargas, who was, it would have been 7th, but is now sitting in 9th. 𝐷𝐿DER
Good exit there.
Sweeney around the outside, just wisely backs off. 8.5 minutes left in this race. There will be plenty of time for an overtake elsewhere. We've got... Oh, Panzo.
No.
What are you doing, sir?
Not again. Same spot, too.
So still in a battle with... Is Rowdy Burns ahead?
Well, that was Rowdy Burns because Rowdy got, caught up.
Oh, the Lamborghini.
You greedy.
The Lamborghini doing Lamborghini
come
things.
back.
And Panzo, this is an RTG coming.
I think he's already.
Yeah, that's...
It's so painful to see.
I've had races like that before. It's going well, and then one thing happens, and it just makes you upset.
Spirals.
And now you're mad, and you start overdriving the car, and it just spirals out of control.
When it rains, it pours, right?
When it rains
it's definitely
at the Nurburgring, it pours. Super hot on-track action. This is P18, 19, and 20th. Levine from Holmes from Leitch. 7.5 minutes to go. We'll have to keep an eye to see if this beautiful Champion Motorsports Mercedes can make any sort of impact on the Aston Martin ahead. Sweeney and Derek Stack still close on track, but not quite close enough for any sort of overtake unless he's feeling super brave coming into turn 1. You know, do you send it? I don't think he means to send it, but he's there. Deep on the brakes, Chris Sweeney. He actually makes the apex just fine.
Wow,
you wonder there if Derek Stack.
Made the apex there.
Derek Stack maybe
actually
a little early on the brakes.
Yeah, I would have to look at that real close to come to any conclusions there. But a good awareness from Derek Stack there.
Kind of saw him coming, avoiding an incident.
Yeah, it's best to avoid a position than to, or lose the position than it is to just get absolutely clobbered. So
P4 and 5 on track. Murphy still right up behind 𝐕𝐴𝐵𝐺 Jr. as they come out of the hairpin. That, we say the Mustang is a car that once you make turn exit, it gets great drive, but that Mercedes says, hey, I got a big block under my hood as well. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Holmes on Levine, still fighting. 𝐲𝐸𝐺 has been dropped a little bit, so now this is a two-man battle, P18 and 19. Murphy still on 𝐕𝐴𝐵𝐺. The gap, P2 to P3, Osborne to Boonstra, about 2 seconds, so we would expect, being teammates, these guys will just kind of keep it in line, unless at the very end they want to do me a favor and give me a couple extra points in the fantasy pick-Ds, get Boonstra up to P2, but I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Papaya rules. Selena Boonstra, P2 please.
Oh, but they're Porsche, not McLaren.
Ah, fair. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't know what the 𝐷𝐸𝐺 rules if you go with the Manti Porsche.
Yeah.
Derek Stack still fighting on Chris Sweeney. Will he be returning the favor into T1 this time around? Not quite.
No.
Keeping it nice and respectful. 5 minutes left in this race, so I'm expecting, based off of where Sutherland is on track, 3 more laps in this race. This one plus 2 more.
I think this might be where we might see some drivers start to get desperate with their overtakes. I mean, Murphy's been stuck behind 𝐕𝐴𝐵𝐺 for a while. You're just showing who was it you were showing?
Previously it was Stack and Sweeney.
Yes.
Yeah, them. Yeah, of course Stack's fallen off quite a bit. I don't know what happened, but
I saw he was struggling. It looked like like the traction control was just eating up a lot. I don't know if he's having some tires overheating or something, but it looked like he was pretty slow to get off of the line on turn 1. So yeah, I don't know if it's. I mean, the Mustang can be really tricky in these wet races with the rear, getting the traction control right, because you want to run a fair amount, to be able to put power down, because it is just such a wild animal when it comes to putting power down. But then at the same time, if you do too much, you could just lose so much time on the low speed.
So Wilder Vargas here losing touch with Stack a bit. DJ Watts making an impression down this back straight, right up behind now. Wilder Vargas, this is a battle for P9 and 10 on track. Little squirrely on the exit of that chicane. That's a familiar feeling there. Maybe a little bit too much curb on the inside, and now losing what would have been a potential overtaking opportunity into T1. Justin McKechnie's P14 from a pit lane start. You love to see it. Right up behind Rowdy Burns. 2 laps left in this race. Still plenty of time to make it happen. Go on then, Justin.
I tell you what, when we saw that one car getting a little squirrely on the exit of the chain, I thought they might make an accidental pit entry.
Speaking of 𝐷𝐸𝐺 rules,
I was just gonna say that sure looked like papaya rules there, or I guess 𝐷𝐸𝐺 rules.
Just maybe. Side by side, and Russell Allen says, "No, after you, sir." After you, sir. Just a little bit of a lift down that start-finish straight, letting his teammate Pat Cockcroft take over P16 in this race. Fair play to those boys. Followed close behind Elliott Levine, Christian Holmes. This is actually a pretty tight pack on track.
It is. It's
Alan
very
from
tight.
Levine from Holmes.
I like seeing on that relative, you know, before we've updated it through the Sector 1, seeing 5,000ths between Russell Allen.
Side by side over the line.
Leaders on final lap now.
Easy still P25. Ah, you hate to see it. He was doing so well in this race. Nitin Murthy still right up behind 𝐉𝐵𝗺 coming through this final chicane for the penultimate time, number 77, Russell Allen.
Russell Allen.
What had happened? That's out of the hairpin coming into now the Schumacher S's. That you don't take the curb on the outside, not in the wet, and he gets hit by Levine from behind, who will lose
On the final lap. Give it all you can.
2 positions to the cars of Christian Holmes and Sean Leitch. So just, you know, after 59 minutes, maybe a lapse in focus from Russell Allen and now Sean Leitch. These drivers must be exhausted, making way too many mistakes. Another yellow flag. That's Nitin Murthy. What happened?
Oh no!
Oh no.
That infield section, turns 2 and 3, Murthy potentially 2.
Oh, is
well,
it more curb?
what
Just
happened?
late on the brakes. Just late on the
Oh
brakes.
no. Touched 𝐉𝐵𝗺 ahead, spun himself, but maintains P5 ahead of Cortez. So if he can hold off Cortez, he can finish in the same position on track.
Which that is, yeah, when something like that happens, that is, you know, definitely a bit of a saving grace there. So yeah, hopefully he's able to keep things together. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage. Now that is front end damage, which is certainly more manageable than diffuser damage.
True, very true. So coming through the Schumacher S's for the last time, Samuel Cortez looking not quite like he's going to have a chance. Looking ahead, we've got Mr. Neil Sutherland,
The leader has finished the
your
race.
Division 3 winner here at Week 4. Jess Osborne, P2. Selena Boonstra, P3. 𝐉𝐵𝗺 navigating that final chicane, looking a little slidey. Little Tokyo drift for the last time in that
Just Mustang things.
that West Coast, Best Coast Ford Mustang, taking the checkered flag for P4. Nitin Murthy is able to hold off Samuel Cortez, despite the mistake in turn 3. Holds on to P5. Fair play to him. Cortez now over Sweeney, for Vargas and Watts and Wood and Riggs and Justin McKechties, the man, the myth, the legend. Well done to him from the pit lane to P13. Whew, that got a little crazy there at the end, huh?
It did, yeah. We get some donuts there from the Porsche team.
All right, so God, that was a bit of a crazy one. So as our race ends, we'll keep an eye on our driver, our race review chat. Who are we looking to pull in here?
Well, we could pull in we've got the Porsche team in there.
Got both Porsches? I mean, obviously Sutherland was our race winner.
Which I'm not seeing him in the chat.
You know, one thing I gotta say while we're trying to figure that out, Movo did at least finish out the race, you know, after an incident like what he had where he's just running P2 for so long and then just one incident, all it took. Really unfortunate, you know. Respect to him for still finishing out the race. I would not have blamed him for packing it up after that.
Yeah, honestly, it's a huge respect to Movo for keeping it in there. He definitely still, you know, he had strong pace and you know, it's still definitely a strong, you know, performance. But yeah, it's always a bummer to have, you know, something go wrong like that.
So looking, seeing P31-ish for Movo. So yeah, no, fair play to him staying in.
and it's still points, and points matter, and these championships get super tight on points, so it's definitely very important to stay in the race and get all the points that you could get. So we do have Neil, and so I'm gonna pull him into the commentators booth.
Nice, let's get him.
Neil Sutherland, you're in the commentators booth. How are you feeling after that race win? That was a great performance.
Oh my gosh, I am so stoked. First SRA win.
The first
Let's
win,
go.
really?
Hey,
Wow,
congratulations.
yeah. Well, hey, you've had super strong performances so far this season, honestly. Keeping things super clean, and yeah, definitely were able to do that. It looked like it was a bit close with the strategy there. You able to cover them off, but yeah, how are you feeling about tires, conditions, all of that during the race?
Rain races are tough, man, because the pressures are so variable depending on how many cars are on track and what the actual rain rate is. We get so little info from ACC, and in stint 1 I actually missed the pressures like 1.5 pounds high, so I was really concerned that my pace was going to be just crap. Luckily the pace was actually not too bad. 𝐲𝐿𝐼 was behind me pushing so hard, so I could definitely feel my tires going off. I know there was a group of early hitters, but I had them on the map, was tracking them, and they weren't gaining on us, so it was fine. But I was so excited when 𝐲𝐿𝐼 hit it early, because that meant I could come in and fix my pressures. I had a horrible in-lap, lost a second on the in-lap alone, and that put 𝐲𝐿𝐼 right behind, as you saw, so that was super exciting to get into it.
Yeah, it was super tight between the two of you, but yeah, you kept cool, and that's one thing I noticed, with the whole race. Just you're really able to keep things cool under pressure there, and and keeping the tires cool. Yeah, with the rain, it didn't seem like it was too strong of rain, relatively light, but it didn't seem to change much during the race. Was there did it let off any bit, or was it mostly the same for the whole race?
It felt about the same the whole race, but you saw the pace was increasing faster than I think we were getting quality. But the whole race we were seeing, 2 bars, the full heavy rain or medium rain, I guess people call it, in ACC. So yeah, the track felt great, the car felt great. I was not having to really push the pace or push onto some of the more dangerous curves. Like I said, the rain testing requires a lot, and I'm an engineer, and I just love all of the data tracking things. So
Nice.
it's fun on every curve, every different way during testing for this race. So I knew exactly what I could and couldn't put the car, during the race, and that felt really good to just be able to hold my line, and then obviously the straight up speed on the front, or the forward is just kind of unmatched by those cars. So kind of stuck behind me, I'm guessing, when it wanted to get past.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it seems like all that study definitely paid off. So looking forward to the future, it's looking that we're getting into quite the battle for the both team championship and the individual championship, because now you're leading the individual championship, and especially after a win there, to kind of further that lead. Are you thinking about the championship, or are you just gonna trying to keep it race by race?
Yeah, honestly, I know that Jess and Selena are going to be there all the way through the end of the season. They are so quick and consistent. They were in G2 last season, so I don't say bummed when I saw them bump down to G3. I had a battle with me again, but both of them are going to be really tough to beat in the end for the team championship. But yeah, honestly, I've never had to do a 𝐂𝐸𝐽. It's an honor, a privilege that I'm not looking forward to. So I'm always trying to bump myself up into higher divisions. I was begging for G3 gold from race 1, and luckily I finally got it. I think that mode matches my pace, but 𝐂𝐸𝐽, no 𝐂𝐸𝐽, I'll do it if I have to. But honestly, during the race tonight, I was just so focused on the race, and that's why we do this, right? Financial stress and work stress. Shout out to my wife. She finally got a job after a 6-month job search today.
Hey,
Team
Sutherland, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why we do it, right? And thank you so much for broadcasting the race. I'll be watching it back tomorrow. Definitely not doing the covers.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody. But yeah, well, hey, huge congrats, and yeah, have fun celebrating the win and celebrating the new job for your wife. So
Thank you
huge
so
congrats.
much. Thank you.
Neil Sutherland, they're our winner. Yeah, definitely an interesting race for you know, all things considered. There was definitely quite a bit of heartbreak during the race, but I want to say it was relatively clean for contacts. Much cleaner than Misano was. So I don't know if that's Jason Allen's speech moment or just drivers maybe being extra cautious in the rain. I don't know, because you know, this is a tricky track to race at in the rain. So I don't know if that's drivers being extra cautious where, you know, their guard is a little let down at Misano, but I don't know.
Yeah. I would say, like, D3 kind of got a little bit of a reputation after the first few rounds, especially after Suzuka, with the amount of incidents that happened there. And it's really good to see that the division is turning things around with this race. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I definitely think it was better than what we've seen in some previous races. Hopefully they keep this trend. If not, well, at least it'll be exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting in a way. I mean, who remembers D3 being like the cleanest division? I remember, like, what was it, season 10? Season 11 was really clean as well, but season 10 D3 was like incredibly clean. They were like the cleanest Angel division. So, but yeah, today was relatively clean. There was quite a few mistakes though. I mean, it's like I said, super tricky track. Slippery curbs, it's easy to make those mistakes.
Alright, so speaking of difficult tracks, looking ahead now, we've got the calendar on screen. So round 5 coming up next week, Zolder, a super tricky track. These chicanes, I feel, are going to give our drivers a pretty tough time. You got any predictions for next week, Mac?
Well, I drive the McLaren.
Ugh, my condolences.
And so I'd say a solid F in the chat, paying respect to all McLaren drivers.
Yeah.
Not gonna have that much fun at Zolder.
Yeah, this one definitely is going to favor the cars that could eat up those curbs. I think the BMW could be a pretty strong car at Zolder. But yeah, we got difficult tracks. We got 3 really challenging ones in a row. Valencia's not too bad. It is a night race, which that one, you know, should, you know, being night, that kind of throws you know, a fork in things. But the Zolder, Mount Panorama, Alton Park, all really tricky tracks.
Yep. So definitely, indeed, everybody out there on YouTube, join us next week for Zolder. Then there's a 1-week break before round 6, Mount Panorama. Then we got Alton Park, Valencia for the season finale. Final thoughts. I've talked enough. Donovan Colton, Matt Morgan, any final thoughts before I send this off?
I'm pretty much, I think I've said my piece.
Yeah, I would just say make sure to tune in for streams tomorrow, D6, D4, D2.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting.
Good call.
You know?
Yeah, we are racing tomorrow. Come see us. D2, D6. We'll be on stream. All right, but until...
Yeah, maybe I'll get cursed by 𝐂𝐸𝐳 again.
He better not. All right, so until next time, Phil Mueller, Donovan Colton, Mac Miller, we're signing off. See you all next time.